This is the one where the Doctor tries to strand Ian and Bob in Somerset.
But misses and plonks them in revolutionary France.
Awesome.
And they're captured, but rescued.
And captured.
And rescued.
Only to be captured again.
So that finally, at last,
spoiler alert,
they can be rescued again.
It's called the Reign of Terror.
Here we go.
We're embarking on a voyage all through time and all through space,
encountering Dalek, Starla-Nude, and the Cybertronic race.
Sontarans look like taters, and Silurians all have wonky scales.
And the Doctor has a TARDIS, we're reviewing all his tales. Who back when? Reviewing all of who there is. Who back when?
Subscribe and rate on iTunes, please.
Episode by episode, we're trudging down this temporal road. Come join us on this odyssey. What other choice could there be than Who back when?
Who back when?
Hello, and welcome to episode 008 of Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. I am Blackjack.
Yes, you are, and I am Ponkin.
And today we'll be reviewing The Reign of Terror, which, spoiler alert, was fucking amazing.
It was fantabulous.
Yes, but before we start, I'd just like to issue a small, and it is only a small one, apology. We had a little bit of a diary conflict in the last week.
It's been quite intense, with work and weddings and whatever.
Yeah, and such stuff. Like seriously, it was unavoidable. Like,
for the record, we didn't get married to each other. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Although that'd be cool if we did. You know. Yeah.
Well, not really, because you're already married. That'd be really weird.
Bigamy. Yeah.
Anyway,
let's get into the episode, because I really want to talk about this and spend as much of our allocated time slot, which we are allocating ourselves, on this storyline, because I thought it was absolutely amazing. So let's start off, shall we?
Where shall we start?
I think we start with the TARDIS arriving in some sort of wood.
Some sort of forest.
Yeah, the Doctor, by the way, is still really pissed from the last episode.
Oh, totally.
From Ian's little facetious comment about we don't know where we're going, do we?
Yeah.
Which is something that's revisited later in this episode.
This dude totally holds a grudge.
Yeah, he's been really upset about it, clearly harbouring discontent, and he means to drop Ian and Barbara off somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in a place he assumes is Somerset.
Well, it's like I wrote down the line when he devises that it must be Somerset. Susan goes, they look on the scanner and they see just the forest. Susie goes, it reminds her of Somerset, and the doc says, well, then I expect it is Somerset. Really? Wow, deductive logic. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, but he's absolutely certain, and he's really upset again that they're questioning that this might not be exactly where he says it is. They recall the Marco Polo incident, which, to be honest, he was a little off on that case. He's getting closer. We're in revolutionary France, by the way.
Yeah. But we don't know that
He's getting closer. But Ian continues being really facetious, and good on him. I quoted one line. It's not particularly pertinent, but it's the way he says it. Of course you're in control. You're always in control. Because the Doctor's really saying, I know everywhere I'm going. How dare you, boy?
Yeah. Well, by the way, considering how fervently the Doctor defends his expertise in manoeuvring the TARDIS in the beginning, and the fact that very shortly thereafter they're going to realise that he was wrong yet again,
but I think
it is really weird that no one ever brings it back up again in this whole story arc. No one ever says once again, well, dude, as I recall, approximately 6 episodes ago, you were saying how we were complete dipshits for thinking that you had gotten it wrong again, but you know what? Turns out you were wrong. Mm-hmm. No one says that.
But I actually really like this part of the story, because we will come to this in later years, basically. The Doctor hasn't always had the TARDIS, he actually took it.
We don't actually...
We don't know that yet.
I don't know if we've discussed that on Who Back When.
No, we haven't.
We've definitely discussed it off... off the record.
But I think it's quite cool that they're already thinking ahead. They're already, planning out that the Doctor might not have as much control as he would hope. I mean, he's clearly an amazingly intelligent chap, but he's not all over.
You know what? I don't know if that's part of any kind of plan. I think that's mainly just to portray him as a little bit of a bumbling old man.
Possibly.
He's a little bit of a Mr. Magoo, a very wise version of Mr. Magoo.
I don't think so at all. He does some quite brilliant stuff. He really does do some quite brilliant stuff, and his logic, however sort of specious it might seem to us, it does usually work out. And he's good at masquerading as lawyers and,
that's true.
Heads of southern departments.
Yeah.
He does.
I'm looking forward to getting to that.
He often comes up with the goods.
Yeah. They exit the TARDIS. Susan remarks that there are no lights. They can't really see any cities or anything. Then they hear what really sounds like it sounds like gunfire.
Yeah.
And Ian remarks that it may have been a rabbit.
Yeah. Those are the only two things. Because audibly, those two things are the most similar things in the world. Yeah.
Actually, what he says is, hey, I saw it. I saw it too, Susie. Or something like that. Well, I saw it too, Susan. Heads off to pick up the rabbit, but instead comes back with a little boy.
Yeah, a young ragamuffin. Like, that's the only way to describe him. He's a dirty little peasant boy.
Yeah, a dirty little peasant boy who, incidentally, it turns out, is wearing 18th century, like, peasant garb.
Yeah, but, I mean, it would be quite hard to place where you were just from that. Other than the fact he's speaking, like, an arcane form of French. Which they don't know about.
Which they don't know about. Translation matrix.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
The boy, I mean, I thought that this boy would come back, actually, later in the episode. I thought he
does for a little bit.
He does for a little bit, but I thought Jean-Pierre. I won't forget that name. He totally does.
That's another one where...
That's why I thought he'd come back.
Yeah, and that's another one where another bit, we'll get to that later on, I'm sure. We may even include a soundbite. Please do remind me, Flappy. That's one part where the Doctor fucks up his lines. He wants to say, like, mon capitaine or something, and instead it's like, Jean-Pierre, whatever, stutters. Here you go.
Quelque chose. Yeah. Quelque chose.
Anyway, Jean-Pierre says that...
the boy is just he's a plot driving device.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
He just tells them they're 12 kilometres from Paris, almost exactly. The Doctor... at that point says, I haven't done too badly then.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously I'm within 100 miles of London. I'm within 200 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're all good. This isn't bad.
Well, they don't know what year it is yet. He figures, okay, so this is relative present day, 1964 or whatever, France.
1964 peasantry. Although they mention it's not 1964, it's 1963.
1963?
They actually say in the episode.
Oh, they say it as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like, I want to be in England in 1963. Although that does make logical sense, because even though it's now 1964, they want to be dropped off where they were first taken. So, they thought that one through.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. The boy escapes. Jean-Pierre runs off and runs to a house where apparently some sort of, an adult, I guess, lets him in. We just see an arm letting him in.
And the Doctor, they're all going round, and the Doctor just decides it's okay to just break into the house.
Yeah, Ian and friends find the house. And, they all enter.
And then we get a really interesting little cutscene with just Ian and Bob.
Ian and Bob, I've got that written down.
Where they're talking about the Doctor, and basically like, at least this time, I think he genuinely did try to bring us home, even if it was out of distemper.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
So they're basically saying the Doctor's getting better.
But it's
what a nice guy.
It's also a nice little focus on their emotional development, because they're saying, they're discussing, are they ready to go back home? Yeah. Is Ian in particular ready to
and he totally is.
Stop this voyage of theirs? He really is, yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he ever even wanted to be on the voyage, to be honest. Like, I'm surprised he had a little time where he was happy to do this. It's just been pure hell for him from start to finish.
Well,
he's been forced. No, he's been put into so many deadly situations. None.
That's true,
none less so than the Aztecs.
Yeah, but he has.
My God, that was terrible.
Yeah, but he has turned into a little bit of an Indiana Jones. Bob, I can understand if she wants to go home, but we did have not too long ago a scene of all of them just talking about how they changed. What was that, Aztecs or Sensorites, whatever?
Yeah, they talk about how they've changed and how they're a little bit more adventurous.
Exactly, like they're really enjoying this, but now all of a sudden they're quite ready to return home to their mundane lives.
But I think it's quite important because we get taken back, especially with Ian. We get taken back to the fact that he is a good, honest guy. Because in the Aztecs, you could be, taken away with the idea that he's, become some sort of war leader.
That's true.
This has kind of had that kind of effect on him. And we're seeing the Doctor in really bad temper, and he's up to his cantankerous ways. But in this little segment, Ian and Barb, they're both quite happy that Susan's cheered up as a result of them staying.
Exactly.
And Susan's really happy that they're in revolutionary France. She's like, the Doctor loves that time. Well,
they don't know it yet. Because first they're going to try on some clothes. Anyway, so they get to this house. They go in. There's no sign of anyone.
Yeah.
And the Doc, shushes Ian. They go inside, and Ian, I've made a note that he like starts coughing intermittently throughout the scene, and I was totally convinced that someone in the house would hear them cough.
Yeah.
Or hear him cough.
Yeah.
No dice.
No, they did.
No, that doesn't happen. But they split up, as per usual. The doc, like, lights some candles, because he knows precisely where to find them in the
Well,
dock.
first of all, Ian finds an opulent candlestick, and it's basically like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
we must be in a crazy good... And there is a good sense of intrigue there. I didn't know they were in revolutionary France at this point.
No, not right.
No, so, it was leading the viewer in. It was very good.
Anyway, the doctor goes
Susan
upstairs.
and Barb, and I thought this was an ultimate, like, misogyny point. Didn't turn out to be that much, but they, found some pretty dresses, and spend ages, like, trying dresses on.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the doctor goes upstairs. In the chest where they find the clothes, they find lots of stuff. They find daggers, maps, wine, and stale bread.
And official documents.
Yeah, well, fake
Passports.
passes
Yeah.
signed by Robespierre, which is like, this is the definitive proof. Ian kind of puts it together. He goes, fuck, the doctors put us down in the middle of the French Revolution.
Yeah,
and boom, Bob hand-fists the name of the show into the lines. Because like, the Reign of Terror.
Well, she is a history teacher, so presumably she studied it a little. So
yeah, that's true.
This is,
Oh, and they also realise that this house must be a link in an escape chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all decide to dress up. They have a dress-up party. Just Ian, Barb, and Susan, actually. The doctor's off on his own at this point.
Yeah, he's upstairs.
He's gone upstairs.
Yeah, but let me just make one tiny point.
Mm-hmm.
This is in a time when lice were not uncommon. They are putting on clothes that they found in a fucking cobwebbed piece of shit house somewhere.
But they do need to blend in. What do you want them to do? They've got no money. Like, they're going to go down to the dressmaker's shop?
You know what they could do? They could just get the doctor and say, you know what, you've taken us to the wrong time. This is the definitive proof of that. Let's go back to the TARDIS and go somewhere else.
At the time they put the stuff on, that's when Susan tells us, this is the Doctor's favourite period of history of all time, of all the history of Earth. This is his favourite period.
Yeah, the Doctor, meanwhile, is being bludgeoned upstairs.
Well, we don't know that yet.
No, he's being bludgeoned.
Oh, do we see him bludgeoned?
Yeah, he's bludgeoned upstairs. And just as they finished getting dressed, or redressed or whatever, which, by the way, means that they've all stripped in front of each other and then put new clothes back on.
Well, I'm sure Ian, being the perfect gentleman he is, went behind a little dressing board or
Turned his back anyway. Turned back. He didn't do it like a James T. Cook. I banged Susie. Anyway.
Oh, dear.
I know.
That's horrible.
Anyway, then the two dudes that like bludgeon the doc, I don't know what their names are. I've got them down as Rouvet and D'Artagnan.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I've got two French guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, French dudes, they arrive, and I'm definitely going to put a screenshot of this up on the website. Ian cops a feel of Susie.
What?
Yeah.
No.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to show you the screenshot right now. I want the people of podcast land to see your reaction. I actually took the screenshot already.
See my reaction.
Yeah, well, they're going to hear your reaction. Boom.
Oh, wow, yeah. He's really cupping there. I'm sure it's in a very fatherly way. I have nothing but respect for the man.
No, like, he literally...
Just like I did for Rolf Harris. It's just like, no, all these child porn accusations, no. He's a good guy, Rolf.
Let's not get into that. That's a fucking minefield.
Turns out not so much.
No.
Two little boys with two little toys takes on a whole new meaning.
But that bit where he cops a feel of Susie is very much like Han Solo accidentally grabbing Princess Leia's boob in Jedi. Because you see him cupping her tits, then realizing that he has cupped her tits, and then slowly but surely shifting his hand mid-shot. It's great.
I'm sure he wasn't supposed to cup her tit.
No, I don't think so either. Complete accident. Anyway, so the two dudes...
It does quite upset me, just on another note.
Okay.
So, how old do you think Susan looks?
Okay, this is actually good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a tiny break from the plot to discuss this.
Tiny little segue.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor, actually later in this episode, but he's done it before, describes her as like a young child. Which she very obviously is not.
Is not. And also, in the sense rights, when they meet Moneypenny, when they see Moneypenny the first time...
Yeah. Moneypenny.
Fucking Moneypenny.
Yeah.
When they see Moneypenny for the first time, and Moneypenny is like, what? She's maybe 30 or something, right? The Doctor says, she's only a couple of years older than my granddaughter.
Right.
Yeah. Which, like, wait, so your granddaughter is roughly 28?
Yeah, well, I wonder how old Carol Ann Ford is in this. That's probably, again, something we should look up. But she's not a small child.
No, she's not a small
She
child.
can fend for herself kind of age.
Yeah, she's that...
She's meant to be 16. The character is meant to be 16. But Carol Ann Ford looks
We've
older.
been saying that, but have we actually ever heard that?
Yeah.
I mean, she is a school child. She goes to school, so she must be around
We've
that
been
age.
told she is 16.
Okay.
Definitively,
All
like
right.
the doctor has said it.
Okay, well, I imagine she must be of that age either way, because she went to school. I mean, she was Ian and Bob's student, right?
But I don't know how anybody would recognise her from that description. So, like, when the doctor walks in somewhere and says, "Have you seen a small child?"
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I doubt anybody would be like, "Oh, yeah." She's locked up round the corner. No. Like, in fact, in revolutionary France kind of time, she'd have been, of ripe age.
Yeah.
She's not a... whatever.
Anyway, tangent over.
Back to the plot.
Yeah, the two dudes, they want to know which side they're on. Like, basically, like, are they...
Yeah, you're with us or you're against us.
Exactly. Yeah. And Bob steps up, goes, "We're not on any side. We're not even French." Which language are you speaking? And it turns out that's all these dudes need to know. I mean, they come blasting into the room, like, toting their muskets.
That does make sense later.
Yeah, but literally, she just goes, "We're not even French." And they're like, "Okay, fine, I'm just going to holster my musket then."
Yeah, but they would have known, like, and as we see later in the episode, they would have known of English spies, and English spies are on their side.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah,
very true.
They see an English person, they're like, yeah, that's our cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice point.
Thank you. Nice point, one way. Yeah.
Anyway, so a bunch of soldiers arrive.
Yeah, so the two men walk outside.
Yeah, one of the dudes has like a total breakdown, by the way.
Total break.
Oh, he has a total breakdown. He was like, "Oh, I saw my whole family get toted off to the guillotine. My sister and my mother and blah, blah, blah. Everyone died." And he's like,
I'm not
having a meltdown.
I'm not sure that's a breakdown.
I think that's a meltdown because the other dude, whatever, like dude number one tells dude number two, like, "Okay, take it easy, the soldiers are here." Dude number two just storms out for no reason whatsoever. Dude number one follows him and then they turn into Swiss cheese.
It's not as if that's what I was going to say. It's not as if it makes much difference how they feel. They're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty much immediately shot dead.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
we see one of them shot dead, which is quite an interesting little...
I know. There's actually a lot of violence in this whole story.
Yeah, God,
yeah,
there's a lot of violence. Well, it is the French Revolution.
That's very true.
But we see we actually see him die. The other one, we just hear a gunshot and he's gone.
Anyways, what have I got rid of?
The guards then find the troop. Well, minus the doc. They find the troop minus the doc after this.
Yes, wait.
The doctor's still upstairs, passed out on the floor after he's been bludgeoned by the two counter-revolutionaries.
Well, Shaky Dude, before he like bonsais out into the courtyard, he says, I think, that, your grandfather, whatever, is upstairs, and Ian goes up after them.
Yeah.
Or after the doctor. And then when Ian comes back downstairs, all of a sudden it's like full of soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long story short.
Yeah.
The guards take them to Paris, they're saying, to face the guillotine.
Yeah.
And also decide that they're going to burn the house down.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is pretty much common practice, that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. The doctor wakes up, it's like, we get this really long smoke and fire sequence.
Well, he doesn't wake up. No, he's still unconscious. He rolls around on the floor and goes, but he doesn't actually wake up.
I thought he waked up.
Sorry, you're completely right. Yeah,
I think he wakes
starts
up
banging on the door.
Exactly.
And then
he passes out. Yeah, exactly.
From smoke exhaustion.
Yeah, and while the doctors, they think the burning house is like the funniest thing since Benny Hill. They're like laughing, and then they walk away, and the boy, Jean-Pierre, is there looking on, like Vaude style, literally next to them. No one sees him.
I actually think, and we're getting to the end of episode 1 now.
Shit, yes we are.
But this is one of the best cutting sequences, edited sequences of any Doctor Who I've seen.
Okay.
Where they keep cutting back and forth from the fire, the Doctor inside choking, then back to the fire, the burning house.
I agree. That is very nice.
There's a lot of tension in it.
Is that your number 1? I think it might be my number 2. My number 1...
After the montage.
Oh my god, I forgot about the montage.
It's gotta be a montage.
Okay, montage is my number 2. This is number 3. Number 1 would be Ian inside the cave in the Aztecs when it fills up with water.
Oh, yeah,
that's number 1 for me.
That is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, end of episode 1. Episode 2, Guests of Madame Guillotine.
Yeah. We get a great still image of Paris and a guillotine.
Yeah, well, it's like live footage interwoven with like copper engravings of Paris.
It's actually interesting. So they showed like a still image of Paris, and then what I thought was a still image of a guillotine.
Yeah, I know.
And then it cuts in, and then it
comes
cuts
down.
in. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, very cool.
It was just something I've started to do at the start and ends of every episode. They freeze frame.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah,
I want to see an episode end with them like jumping up and high fiving in the air. And freeze frame. That's all I want to see. Yeah. Anyway, so they're brought to like a prison, Ian and BS. They're brought to a prison and separated. And
And they're going to be guillotined as traitors. They were found with the other two, so assumed to be
exactly. And there's like this peasant prison guard who's like a British northerner.
Yeah,
who
a jailer. But,
the jailer
yeah,
who immediately
in my notes, please note, I spelt correctly in the correct 18th century way.
What have you written?
Gowler.
Gowler. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Because I remember it from the time. Like that is how you. Because I always used to be confused by that. In original documents, it says Gowler, but that is actually said jailer. So he is a jailer.
Oh, really?
Spelt Gowler. Yeah, they don't really say.
I thought it was pronounced Gowler.
No, not.
I thought it was pronounced Gowler because of the Oscar Wilde, the Ballad of Reading Gaol.
I think
is it Reading Jail then?
I think when
linguistic tangent people,
when people say Gal, it's like a post thing. Like they're adding it back into history because that's how they read it.
Interesting.
Just like, and we're going even further off on a tangent. When you see above
ye oldie,
ye old,
yeah, but it's not ye old. It's just ye old. That's how they. Yeah, I know.
And I think it's one of those basically. It is actually jailer, and they refer to him as jailer.
Very cool.
Whatever.
Well, anyway, this jailer, he pretty much immediately suggests that Bob pay for their release in what is apparently the international currency of bow chicka bow bow.
Yeah. Yeah.
He slaps him across the face. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what was he offering her. Like he was saying, I'll just give you a nice cell?
No, he literally says,
escape?
Yeah, he says, well, it wouldn't be too hard for me to leave a few doors unlocked. It gets very lonely in here, I just want to slip my tube into you. Yeah. And she, slaps him across the face.
Which I think is very selfish on her part. Like, when Ian's like, well, seriously, when Ian and Susan's lives are at stake, if she's got an opportunity to get them escaped, I think she's been very selfish not to just have one random sexual act.
Well, to be fair,
one for the team.
Well, to be fair, I don't think she would enjoy that very much. And also,
she wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. That's the point. Yeah, but what would make her a hero?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That wouldn't make her a hero, but it would also make her a victim. And there's no guarantee that he would actually let them go.
That's true.
Yeah,
mate, he doesn't look like the most trustworthy guy in the world.
No, but she could kind of wrap him around her finger and maybe say that she would.
Yeah, lead him on.
And then bludgeon him, because apparently bludgeoning people is in vogue right now, because that happens a good few times.
And which we'll get on to.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I've gone a bit far saying she should have done that, but she could have certainly come up with a little plan. She could have led him down the road, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she slaps him across the face, he's locked up with Susie, Ian is in another cell, and we cut to the doc being saved by the boy, Jean-Pierre. How, by the way?
God knows how he picked him up.
How did he do that? Anyway, so he snaps out of it, and Jean-Pierre basically goes, previously on Doctor Who, and tells exactly everything that's happened so far.
Yeah. And yeah, he actually does it in a remarkably short and decisive way.
Yeah.
Tells the Doctor everything that's happened.
Yeah.
How he knew some of it as well. I mean, how did he know that they were being taken to Paris to be guillotined? I guess he could have overheard it.
He could have overheard it. Yeah, I don't think that's weird.
He's a very intelligent young man.
Yeah.
So then the Doctor's full of, platitudes. Oh, brave boy.
Salutes him, he messes up his lines a little bit, and then walks off. We get quite a lot of, the Doctor walking footage.
Yeah, that's great. The theme music's great.
Oh, it's amazing.
The Doctor walking through the French countryside theme music is a wonder to behold. Maybe we could have a little soundbite.
Okay, soundbite.
But it's used throughout. Actually, it doesn't stop.
No, every single time that he goes for a stroll,
even when he's not walking anymore, even when he's actually arrived in Paris, every time we see the Doctor,
he's totally enjoying the Kodak moments of.
I mean, we have been
France.
told he loves this period of history, but at the same time, his granddaughter's in total peril throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so in the meantime,
be enjoying it quite so much.
We go back to the prison, to the conciergerie.
Actually, the note I made was great, mellow and fruity walking music.
Oh, very nice. Mellow and fruity, with tones of oak. Yeah. Anyway, so in the meantime, we're now back in the conciergerie, and Bob is trying to Shawshank her way out of the cell. And Susan's basically like, oh, if only we had a poster of Raquel Welch. But then we cut to Ian's scene.
Ian's got the exact same idea.
Yeah, basically. He's sharing a cell with a dude named Webster, who's this English guy, and he's dying in his arms.
But this bit really confused me. I know he's dying, but he recognises Ian as an Englishman.
Yeah, so clearly...
How?
Yeah, well, I think the whole translation matrix hasn't been fully devised yet.
Right.
Like, occasionally they'll speak English with French people, and they'll understand them and assume that they're French. And occasionally they'll speak with English people, and they'll be like, oh, right, so you're English too.
Okay, so maybe the translation matrix works thusly then. So, because the guy's English and starts talking to Ian in English, Ian responds in English, and it's all fine. It all just seamlessly intertwines. That Ian is now speaking perfect English to this guy.
So it recognizes people's intentions as well, is that what you're saying? So it's not like a Babelfish where you would assume that everyone speaks the same language.
No,
it's like, it's intuitive.
It's automatic. It's like Google languages. So yeah, like it's intuitive. So it hears English and decides, oh yeah, now we're going to start speaking English.
Now the processing power of this translation matrix is fantastic.
Well, it bloody well needs to be.
Yeah. Anyway, so Webster is saying that, like, he is dying in Ian's arms and is saying that there's this other guy, James Sterling. It basically is like saving Private James Sterling.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, so this dude, he needs to get back to England and
give some information.
Yeah, go to Le Chien Rouge or whatever it was.
Yeah, he names a pub.
Is it a pub?
Yeah,
I thought it was like a code name.
No, it's an actual place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where they eventually meet.
Oh no, that's another thing.
Have I got the wrong thing?
He says, I think he says something like, something shipwreck, blah, 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 and then later on it's like, oh, the shipwreck. Oh, there's an evening called the shipwreck.
That's what I was remembering.
It might not have been shipwreck. It was something. I've got something like later on. Yeah. But yeah, so he dies in his arms, and then we cut back.
He's babbling some stuff, but his basic message is, tell James Sterling to get back to England. He has something important information.
Yeah, and in order to find James Sterling, you need to meet a man named Jules Renault.
Yeah.
So then Ian sees that BS are being, taken away to the guillotine.
Yeah, out the window, yeah.
That's the end of the episode.
At this point, we cut back to the Doctor.
Yes, the chain gang.
Yeah,
and this is so good.
So he runs into the director of the chain gang, and he's really unnecessarily hard. Well, not, like, obviously, the leader of the chain gang's not a good guy. But the Doctor starts making trouble. He's really harsh on him.
Here's the note that I've made about the leader, by the way.
I've got one too. Well, no, I've got Doctor has a go at him and then tells him to pitch in or fuck off.
My note is, the Doc walks past what is not at all explained, but appears to be a chain gang of some sorts, led by one single fat guy with no backup, just one holstered musket and a tendency to turn his back on his prisoners.
Yeah, quite so. They are tax evaders, though. They're not like, they're not like murderous criminals. They're tax evaders. Yeah. So maybe they're happy to just fall in line.
Yeah. It takes a time-traveling alien to actually bludgeon this dude, but we'll get to that. But we have that great line. I wonder if we should almost have a soundbite of that.
I think we should.
Soundbite.
I suppose you think you're very clever.
Well, without any undue modesty, yes. Now, would you mind standing aside?
Boom. Very nice.
Never misses an opportunity to massage his own ego.
Nope.
Great guy. So he threatens the Doctor with, you're a tax evader, you've got no papers. How do I know you're not a tax evader? And puts him to work on the chain gang.
Yeah.
And he's fine with it, actually. Doctor's very good at wielding a hoe.
Yeah. He's like, all right, fine, I'll do that then. Then we come back to the prison where Susie offers to help Bob to Shawshank their way out of the room. But literally gives up after one single go at the rock.
Yeah, like, I didn't quite understand. She started doing it and she went, oh,
I can't take it. I've been working too much. Jesus Christ.
I can't take it.
What a spoiled brat. So then Lemaitre arrives.
Yeah.
And, the jailer turns up and very nearly sees what's behind the Raquel Welch poster. But Lemaitre
he's
arrives.
Called away.
He's called away by Lemaitre.
the master.
Exactly, Lemaitre. Yeah. And he questions Ian about Webster. Like, did he say anything before he died?
Ian lies, obviously.
Yeah, he's like, no, he didn't say anything. But the jailer confirms to him separately, away from Ian, that, he did hear them talk. So as a consequence, Lemaitre takes his name off the execution list.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Susan and Barb.
Yeah.
And Susan's scared of the rats.
Yeah.
That's all I've really got to say.
Their plans are thwarted by the arrival of rodents.
Yeah. As if that's the biggest of their problems.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we get a lovely sequence with the Doctor.
Oh, this is
where
fantastic.
he starts conspiring with the other tax evaders.
The eclipse?
Yeah.
What?
I know, and it's totally bought.
For a moment, like,
The guy, he's not such a bad ringleader. Like, because when the Doctor says, "Oh, there's an eclipse," like, isn't it amazing, wonder of nature? The ringleader's like, "Oh yeah, I know about that," like, trying not to seem unknowledgeable. And then says, "Do you know what? When the eclipse comes, like, we'll stop then."
Yeah.
You can actually stop to watch the eclipse.
it would be a nice moment, nice breather.
Yeah.
Everyone can pull up a smoke.
We are French after all.
Yeah, in the meantime, the Doc steals a couple of ducats. Is that the name? Is that the right word for this?
I thought he pickpocketed a coin.
A coin, yeah, a couple of coins, yeah.
Yeah, he pickpocketed a coin.
And then, like, pretends, like, he puts them under the ground, pretends to have found them, says, like, oh, there's buried treasure. The jailer, or, like, not the jailer, the dude, what's his name? The ringleader.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my god, no, step aside, I'm gonna do all the work with you behind my back, toting quite heavy objects.
Doing nothing else.
Yeah.
Gives them no other tasks.
No.
Just like, stand there and watch me dig.
Yeah, it's not like I've got slave labourers at my disposal.
Yeah, at which point the Doctor bludgeons him.
Stone cold whack-a-moles him.
Doesn't kill him, though. Actually, it didn't make that much sense to me. The guy's on the ground and he's snoring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Doctor puts one of the coins on his eye, like...
Yeah, ancient Greek style.
Exactly, it's like he's about to cross the river Styx.
Yeah.
Then, and correct me if I'm wrong, do we not hear, like, the sound of approaching horses or something? Everyone else runs away, the Doctor just puts on his coat and walks away.
I didn't hear any approaching horses.
I may
Everybody else ran off.
very well be
because
mistaken.
I made a note, actually, the peasants, you get a freeze frame on one of them. They're so disgusted by what the Doctor
Oh, I know.
They're
Just genuinely appalled
these
by what this
people-
old academic is doing.
Well, these people are living through the French Revolution, and they're appalled by what the Doctor's doing. That's how bad he is. Bludgeoning somebody in the back of the head while their back is turned, which is something he does a lot.
Yeah, he does. There's a lot of bludgeoning. Like, it must have been in vogue. Anyway, so we're trying to see some more walking footage.
And when the Doctor does eventually slowly puts his coat on, he's about to leave, he mocks the guy. He said, "Good day to you, sir. Pleasant dreams." Wow.
It's like, it's a one-liner of almost James Bondian proportions.
Yeah. No, it's more like one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger lines. Nice to shoot you, you know. that kind of thing.
Shovel me plenty.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're treated to some more walking footage. The Doctor sits down on a Paris 5 kilometers away sign and then walks away. It's almost so cheerful that you expect to have another cutscene of him, like,
Smelling the flowers.
Smelling flowers, trampling grapes with his bare feet. But instead we cut back to the conciergerie where BS are being taken to the guillotine and
they're in
Ian
the
watches.
next batch,
And Ian watches from his cell as they're taken away.
Yeah, and he's in total despair.
Yeah.
Boom, end of episode.
Cabalamatron, episode 3, A Change of Identity.
Mm.
Where
Foreshadowing.
this is a very visual thing, but I did point out earlier, if you like, we can cut this out. But the next episode starts off with a shot of just like people walking around Paris, just as the Doctor arrives. And but the first person we see walking around, we actually see standing perfectly still, clearly waiting for the director to go, rolling, action, and then he starts walking.
Didn't upset me anywhere near as much as it upset you. Gotta say, I actually didn't even notice the first time around.
Well, something I didn't notice was...
Well picked up.
Thank you very much, Flappy.
Sir.
Well, something that we didn't pick... Well, that neither one of us picked up, but that we saw now when we rewatched that one clip, was that there's a gorgeous matte painting of, like, a Parisian street in the background.
And as I said at the time, they did such a good job, I didn't even notice.
Totally
and
blended
credit
into
where
the
credit's due.
Yeah, definitely blended in.
Because, I mean, as has been pointed out to us, and is also, known to us, in the 60s, it was a lot more difficult. On set, it was quite difficult to get it right. So when they got it right and took their one take, fair play to them. Like, how many times did they use that matte background? Did they have it just for that one scene?
I think it's just for that. Well,
that's a lot of effort.
It might have been for later on when Jules and Jean are skulking around Paris.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, they must double it up with something.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Good job.
Yeah, so, anyway, actually, you know what? The next thing is, Jean and Jules skulking. And they're talking about how at least they have, boom, Leon on their side.
Yeah.
Most amazing name in the world. And, oh, by the way,
Leon.
and Leon, at this point, I shit you not, I was so hoping that there would be another character called, like, Jacques in this thing, just so that the two of us could be in this story. It would be amazing.
You know what? I'm perfectly fine that there's not. But they're scheming. Well, we don't know who they are at this point. We just know there are these two guys, and they're scheming about beating up the guards and, like, rescuing the prisoners.
Yeah, and they have someone else on their side called Leon.
Who seems to be fairly powerful and good at what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is it at this point or later on where they say that Leon is the guy who is in charge of the escape route?
They do. Yeah, they credit him with something. Like, Leon's a big guy on campus.
Yeah. Well, they say very specifically that he is in charge of the escape route. I don't know if it's now or later on, but when they say it, it's like, oh, well, it's pretty clear that he's the guy that he's the bad guy in that case, because clearly someone has been squealing, right?
Yeah.
So
we'll get to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Spoiler alert, people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've seen this already.
So at which point we cut back to the jail.
Yeah.
And the jailer, what was he doing?
He's pushing a thing of food into Ian's cell.
Yeah.
With the
Saying,
keys
"Stand
inside
at
the
back,
keyhole.
keys in the door."
Yeah. It's called off by Lemaitre.
Yeah, who comes back and actually distracts him so that he leaves the keys in the door.
Exactly. Ian notices the keys, steals one.
Yeah.
One might hope the right one, which is kind of weird, because he takes a key off, which must be the right one.
No, because like the jailer has stuck it into the door, so he knows which one
is the right one. But he then also puts the rest of the keys back in, so is now the wrong key in the door?
the wrong key's in the door, but to outward appearances, because you know what it's like, if a key is close to the right key but not quite the right one, it will go in, but
that's very true. I apologise, that was just over-the-top pedantic.
I actually made a note here, because this took quite a long time.
Oh my god, yeah.
He had his hand there trying to do it for about a minute.
Yeah, when I rewatched that episode, I fast-forwarded through that, by the way.
So it was, I actually had a note that Ian very cunningly did this. It was a cunning plan.
Oh, yeah, no,
Like,
he
the only
totally,
way- the only way it would
he's
fall down.
great escaping.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
He is great escaping, that's right. But yeah, the only way that could go wrong is obviously if the jailer tries to open the door and it won't open. But like Ian has thought this through.
Yeah.
Good.
So just to move along.
Jailer comes back, takes the keys, and he doesn't notice.
Yeah. So then we cut over to basically the most rickety prop carriage ever, bound for the guillotine. Susan and BS are on this carriage along with a couple of other people, I think.
Well, my point actually was there weren't enough people on the carriage, because you'd have thought at the rate they're guillotining people, they would need some bigger carriages.
That is true.
You'd think that they'd have 20 on there or something.
Yeah.
I think it was actually only the two of them. You might be right.
Maybe it is just the two of them.
I thought it was just the two of them.
In the background,
and they're not even chained up. Barb's not even chained up. They're just riding on the back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And Susan, all of a sudden, is feeling quite poorly. Like, she's really under the weather. And this is like something...
She's in 18th century France.
Yeah, but this is something that is going to be thematic to the rest of the storyline, but of zero consequence to anything, except as a plot device to bring them to the doctor later on. Well, to the physician later on.
But that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine by me.
So, anyway, they stop because the horse throws a shoe, and in the meantime, in the background are these...
The horse throws a shoe?
Yeah, that's actually the exact phrase they use.
What?
Like, the horseshoe comes off, so the actual carriage needs to stop.
Right.
And when they stop, in the background are like these two French crows just laughing at them.
Yeah.
One of whom, gotta say, she's a crow. But, yeah, they're total biatches, but one of them, pretty attractive.
I can't say I noticed. Like, I had nothing but hatred for them. Well, I tried to put myself in their situation, you know? Like, because you often see that in films, like, portraying, like, olden times.
Yeah.
And people are just looking, pointing, and laughing. Like, why? Why?
Well, I don't know.
Like, what a harsh couple of bitches. They must have known they were on their way to be guillotined. They see two young ladies.
Yeah, but, I mean, the guillotine was a public spectacle as well.
Yeah, but they're not actually at the show. Like,
no, that's true.
I know
but
the guillotine, like, it could have a carnival atmosphere, but they're not there yet.
No, that's true. But you could totally imagine that these are two people who like assume that that BS are like members of the aristocracy and that they deserve to die. And now it's like, oh, haha, in your faces, biatches, because now you're going to be like roughly one head shorter, right? Anyway, the carriage very conveniently has to stop, at which point Jules and Jean, like, basically Charles Bronson in, like, just fucking, like Cobretti, just throwing bullets left, right, and centre. It turns into Lead City. And I gotta say, my note here was that the muskets that they tote, they are capable of carrying like one bullet at a time. Pretty sure.
Do you know what film I watched just before I watched these episodes?
Is this like a guessing game? Can I guess? Okay.
It was Equilibrium.
Oh, yes, I love that!
So there is a scene in
With
that.
a gun cutter.
Well, and they've been taught these special moves to stand at certain angles in certain ways, and you cannot be shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that film, by the way. It's like the best low-budget science fiction film starring Christian Bale and whatever that guy is, Tyrese something.
It's the best rip-off of The Matrix I've seen.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's so good.
I enjoyed it. But this was reminiscent of that.
I used
Jules
to have
is
that
totally
on
in the right
DVD, by
position.
the way.
Cool. Jules is totally in the right positions anyway. He pulls some moves. Like, just takes everyone the hell out.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So they free BS and just run off. But anyway, we
cut back to the Doctor going into the shop.
Yeah, he's going into like a wig maker / tailor, and
the shop owner immediately pins his card to the mast. Tells him he's very pro-revolution. Everything about him is pro-execution.
Yeah.
He loves the idea of the guillotine,
Yeah.
and like that is his opening, his opening speech to the Doctor.
Yeah.
So the Doctor thinks on his feet, and he's like, "Well, revolution, eh?"
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to play the part.
He plays the part.
And sees this sash, which is the emblem of, what was it, like the administrator of one of the southern regions.
The southern region, the head of the southern region or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it just so happens.
That is the title that I hold.
Yeah.
And the guy basically just buys it right off the bat. Is essentially convinced to furnish the Doctor with a full outfit, including the sash.
Full regalia.
Yeah, in exchange for his clothes and his ring.
Yeah. Is there any significance to the ring?
I was going to say, we haven't seen it yet, but
We'll find out later.
I think it is actually going to be of significance later on.
Well, because he's a little bit upset to give away his ring, but he's not that upset, and he has no reason to think that he will ever get his ring back.
I know.
Does get it.
No, that is literally the observation I made as well. Because as far as I know, there is some pretty serious significance tied into this ring.
Yeah.
Further on in the series.
Yeah.
Like before we head into Troughtonland. But, he just parts with this ring ASAP. And gets the most fantastic outfit.
Yeah.
He looks great.
He looks
his hat,
terrific.
oh my god.
It suits him perfectly.
It really does.
Yeah. Dapper older gent.
So that is clearly the titular change of identity.
So we cut back to Barbara and Susan, and they've been saved, and they're taken off to a safe house with Jules, who offers to smuggle them away from France. Like, he's fully into this thing.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we can't go just yet because the grandfather, i.e. Doc, and Ian are still around somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, they quite specifically say Ian is still in the prison even. But...
At which point we see Ian getting out of his cell.
Oh, this is the great escape. He swings past the jailer. Well, actually, he doesn't swing past the jailer.
No, the jailer's drunk on the floor.
Yeah, he's passed out on the floor, but Ian, instead of like just creeping past him immediately, stops, goes down, inspects the empty flask next to him. The jailer like starts to wake up a little bit, and he's like, "All right, fine, I'm just gonna like Hanna-Barbera off screen." Heads off, and that's the last the jailer will see of Ian.
Vaguely reminiscent, I guess, of Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, very Jack Sparrow.
Inside the blacksmith's studio.
And while he escapes, Lemaitre is there watching him escape and says, "Did Webster give you a message or not? We shall see." So he just allows him to escape so that he can follow him, I guess.
Well, we know better.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out even more. Yeah,
I totally bought the whole thing, by the way.
Oh,
I didn't see through it.
I didn't see through it at all. When is
Which
that?
is part of what made this episode so great.
I love this episode. It's actually quite cleverly crafted.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now cut back to BS.
Well, it's making us, in our little synopsis of this, like, say a lot. Anyway, cut back, cut here. But that's actually because it's really shot quite well.
Yeah. I mean, if you consider any modern movie, you get very short sequences of various locations, various cast members, whatever. Yeah. And that is essentially how this is made.
They're all intertwined. And that's what they've done here, more so than other episodes in the past.
The Aztecs had it quite a lot as well, I think.
Yeah, there was a bit in the Aztecs, come to think of it.
Sense Rights didn't have that to the same degree, where you, like, basically follow almost the same set of characters on separate locations, like different locations, but you would follow the same characters along the way.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, there are maybe 3 parallel plots going on. There's Ian, there's BS, and there's the Doc.
And like, you feel at all times they're going to coincide. The Doctor's just arrived back in Paris. Like, what's his plan?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's really well put together. But it does mean we're saying anyway a lot. Anyway. Barb and Susan then start speaking to Jules and Jean. Yeah. And they say that they're working with the 2 men we saw in the beginning. They lay it all out. They work out that someone's informing on them.
Actually, sorry to cut you off. I've made the note. This is where they say the escape route is Leon's responsibility.
Yeah, that's what they say. And then Leon turns up.
Yeah, exactly.
And starts flirting like hell.
Oh my god, he is a freaking Casanova. He starts eye-banging Barb from, like, second 0.
Enchanté.
Enchanté. Would you like some wine? But in the meantime,
doesn't talk like that.
Oh, no, not at all. But he talks like he was possibly educated in Cambridge and majored in banging. Like, this guy is such a Casanova.
Again,
but in the meantime, Susan...
that episode of The Simpsons where Marge starts having the affair with the French guy and he's got, like, trophies for lovemaking.
Oh, yeah.
It's
nice
kind
ref.
of like that.
But in the meantime, Susie has started getting these migraines and is taken upstairs. Mm-hmm. And it is kind of weird, because we will find out that she is... Well, fuck it. No, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to jump ahead. We'll do this later.
No, let's avoid jumping.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies.
Let's go back to the Doctor. Coming into the prison, masquerading as the official in a ridiculous hat.
Yeah.
So regional officer from the Southern Province. I actually recorded his title. So he starts talking to the jailer, who tells him that the girls were sent for guillotining, but they were rescued and that Ian has escaped.
Yeah.
But also, what seems like an unfortunate turn of events, they run into Lemaitre, who says that he believes that... Oh, sorry. No, I've got this wrong. Oh, yeah, the Doctor has fake papers. So he asked the guy in the hat shop for some parchment, and he's written out fake papers.
Yeah.
And it's bought by everyone.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But Lemaitre is very, very skeptical about this. So when he turns up on the scene, it's like, all right, well, you're going to stay here, clearly, and we're going to go and see Robespierre.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they're having a meeting with Robespierre about the Southern Province.
Yeah.
Where they're going to need to discuss Southern Province issues.
Among other things.
Which appear to be not enough people are being murdered.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's taken there for the... Actually, okay, this is going to be in the next episode, but when he is taken to Robespierre to have, like, a lengthy conversation, that lengthy conversation takes maybe 2 minutes and doesn't cover the Southern Provinces nearly enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, okay, anyway, so we're now cutting back to BS, and, to S anyway, and she's now thoroughly being eye-banged by Leon, who even calls for more wine, and the note I've made is, knowing this show, attempted rape is probably on the horizon.
No, but she's really into him. It's not a one-way thing. He's not, like, gonna rape her. She's gonna give herself up to him.
Oh my god, she has not felt like this since she met Thal number 1. Yeah.
No, she fancies him way more than Thal number 1.
Yeah?
Like, she not only loves his body, she loves his mind.
Oh, yes.
she's really into Leon. She's really into him.
Who isn't it?
But the final scene of the episode, we see the suit shop owner guy, and he turns up, and he's talking
at the prison.
Talking to the jailer, and he says he's got evidence against a traitor.
And he holds out the ring. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
How is that evidence against a traitor, by the way?
Well...
Is he gonna, like, what's that fairy tale? Is he gonna, if the shoe fits type thing?
No, like, I suppose...
Sleeping Beauty? No, what the fuck is it?
Like, it made sense to me at the time and still does. See if you can point a plot hole in this, but it seems to be he was suspicious. He was suspicious of the Doctor all along. And when he made the exchange for official clothing, like he was like, well, that's a bit wrong. So he's gone along to the jail and said, this guy is dressed up as a Southern Province guy, but he got the clothing from me.
Yeah.
He hasn't come all the way from the South in it. And he also says, in the next episode, he also says it's not complete evidence. I'm not sure this guy's
But I am very suspicious, and I felt obligated to report it.
This is suspicious behaviour, which to me all seems above board and fine.
Okay, no, fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. Jesus Christ, such a critic.
Fuck you.
Anyway, cut to episode 4, The Tyrant of France, and there are 2 versions of this out. And I saw both versions. The first one is very much like the Marco Polo that we saw, so it's comprised of still images from the episode itself, overlaid with the audio. And the second one, which I had no idea even existed until one of our listeners,
neither did I. No.
Fabiola, thank you so much for mentioning this in your message.
It actually saved me.
It totally saved me as well.
Because Marco Polo, while I enjoyed it, there were sequences where they were fighting or whatever, and there wasn't actually much dialogue.
Yeah.
You couldn't work out what was going on.
Not at all.
And it did ruin the experience.
Yeah.
And actually, the animated version, it saved me.
Oh, it totally saved me as well.
I actually, while I didn't enjoy it as much as, the proper episodes, and was really pleased to get back to the proper episodes, when we get there in episode 6, I wasn't, I didn't lose my sense of momentum.
No, nor I. Not at all. So, Fabiola, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for letting us know that there was an animated version of this out there.
Jesus, I hope there are more animated versions.
Oh
for
my
the
God,
last
me too.
episodes.
In fact, I wonder if there's one out for Marco Polo.
There may well be.
There may well
be.
Anyway, perhaps we'll never know, but I have a feeling that at least one of our listeners could contribute to that.
I do hope so.
Yeah.
So
okay.
In anime style, we cut to Robespierre. The Doctor and the head guy, they've all come together, and the first thing that happens, I say head guy,
Lemaitre.
The Master. I'm sure
I've got him down as Dude Meister Lemaitre in my notes.
Right, okay. So the Master presents an execution report. Robespierre's very happy with the executions, but he wants to talk to the Doctor because the southern provinces aren't executing enough people.
Yeah, and the Doctor sort of offers his views on Paris. In a way, giving some social criticism, saying that, well, for every person that you behead, another 2 will pop up, basically.
Yeah, and he makes Robespierre aware that he's not happy about the executions. And
he even says maybe Paris could take an example from his region.
Yeah. He's saying it's good evidence that things are better in the south. There are less traitors.
Precisely. Yeah. And Robespierre, whilst talking about however many hundreds of people he's beheaded so far, or had beheaded so far, he even almost seems to regret his potential epitaph. He says oh, how am I going to be remembered by history? And fair
I remembered him as alright. Robespierre, I've remembered him as an interesting thinker, as opposed to Bonaparte. When I think of Napoleon, it's kind of war. It's just all war and this aggressive, arrogant little man. But when I think of Robespierre, interesting ideas. Yeah. So he's been recorded okay in history, as far as I'm concerned. But he also makes the point that he's not executing enough people.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of goes against
he's not happy about all the executing he has to do.
Yeah.
It kind of tears him up inside, but at the same time, he thinks that more executions need to happen.
There are basically way too many heads attached to way too many shoulders in Paris.
Which is quite a salient point, actually.
If we have any French listeners, by the way, please tune in with a comment.
Well, there are a lot of traitors around, to be fair.
Yeah, sure.
People have very differing opinions on the subject matter.
Anyway, so the meeting is basically cut short when the Doc and Lemaitre are sent off. They just leave without having discussed very much at all.
And they describe it as a really long conversation they've had where they haven't been able to talk about the southern provinces. But it seems as though Robespierre only booked about 3 minutes in for this entire meeting.
He's a busy guy. His file of facts fills up with stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah. But he's booked in 3 minutes for this meeting.
And the Doctor is very pleased, essentially, to have survived this meeting, more or less. And I'm sure, given that this is his favourite period in human history, he must be so chuffed to just have met Robespierre. But then Lemaitre says, it's okay, we're going to meet him again tomorrow.
But, okay, I thought to myself that the Doctor must have been to this time before.
Yeah?
If he loves this time so
you would
much,
assume
has he
so.
not actually been here? Although I suppose
you would assume so.
He hasn't got total control over his TARDIS, so maybe he can't find it.
I don't reckon that he's been there before. I reckon it is his favourite period, and he knows a lot of stuff. When he's at the tailors, he says, correct me if I'm wrong, they're being taken away to the, what's it called, the conciergerie? And the tailor says, oh yeah, yes, of course, you're very right, citizen. In fact, you can see it from my window, and it seems to me as though that's the first time the Doctor actually learns where the conciergerie is.
Yeah.
Even if he's been there before, he certainly hasn't had a look around, because he doesn't know
Okay.
left from right, but he knows enough, or he studied the period enough to be able to fake being a regional deputy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he does a really good job of it. It's not a half-assed attempt. He looks the part.
Yeah.
He's actually very forceful in his opinions.
Oh, yeah,
Respect to the Doctor on this one. He's
He basically pulls
He's
a
past it.
Barbara in the Aztecs.
he's very French.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, cut to Jules' pad, where Susan is still under the weather, and
Well,
the
she's
maid...
getting worse, in fact.
Yeah, she's getting a lot worse, and the maid comes in. This, to me, was another red herring, because the maid comes in, brings her a glass of something, which clearly is not wine.
Yeah,
Just
but
says, like, drink this, it will, like, warm you up.
to be fair, in the anime version, it kind of looked as though the wine was significant. Like, they kept cutting to it, like, and had little shots of it, like, swirling around. We don't actually know what that would have looked like in
No,
the
but
original episode.
okay, that is true.
It made it look more sinister than it was.
Yeah, that's true. But in general, the fact that she comes in, brings her a glass of something. The maid is also introduced as someone who is not a friend of Bob's. Like, those two don't get along. So I was thinking that, okay, maybe the maid is some sort of spy.
Maybe she fancied the pants off Leon.
Very possibly.
That's why
She
it's
sees
not my
Leon eye-banging Bob every second.
Yeah.
Just goes, God damn, what a bitch.
And Susan actually even makes a note to Bob that she likes
exactly.
Leon
She's like,
in a sexy way.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah.
So then, Leon leaves the room, cut to the next room where the two dudes who have apparently bludgeoned Ian,
Yeah.
they enter in through the window
And
with
got a bag
Ian.
over his head. Yeah.
And, so what happens next? We come back to the conciergerie,
We
what I've got down there.
we go back to Robespierre asking... No, sorry.
I think we're back at the
Sorry.
conciergerie, and Lemaitre and the doc, they chat.
That's right, yeah.
And the doc,
you're right.
tries to weasel out a little bit, but the Lemaitre insists that he stay because Robespierre expects to see
Yeah.
him again
Yeah.
the following day.
Yeah, but the Doctor wants to leave anyway.
Yeah.
And he tries to get out, but the jailer pulls a gun on him when he tries to do so.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then he kind of tries to NLP the jailer in a way. Gets him.
Explain.
Well, it's like he uses his talents in neuro-linguistic programming to get the jailer to think that the Doctor is actually doing him a favour. He's like, you know what? I won't tell Lemaitre that you pulled a gun on me. And the jailer basically goes, thank you so much for that, citizen.
Quite right. I mean, he doesn't actually suspect the Doctor of not being who he says he is, just
No,
that
that's
he's
true.
going to get in trouble if he lets the Doctor leave.
Yeah, but isn't it weird? What I've written down here is, the doc exercises a bit of manipulative NLP on him being the jailer, but he doesn't do so in order to get out. Given how talented he is at manipulating people, especially this rather poorly educated jailer, wouldn't he be able to somehow weasel his way out of that? I get that he can't weasel his way out of a conversation with Lemaitre, but with the jailer... Anyway, doesn't matter.
I don't know. Like, I actually quite like the way the Doctor acts. I like, there are all these little subplots going on. There are all these little bits of intrigue going on all the time, and everybody's having to, watch what they say at doors and, talk in certain ways, say certain things, even though that's not what they mean.
Yeah.
Like, there are all these little intrigues going on.
No, that is a good
what
point.
the Doctor's doing just feeds right back into that.
Very true.
Maybe I'm just being...
No.
I'm being too nice on this episode just because I loved it so much.
Well, I love this episode as well. Very possibly I'm being a little bit unfair here, but okay.
Well, I've got a reason why everything works out in this episode, which is why I love it so much. Like, everything makes sense to me.
Yeah. As you pointed out before we started recording, with no prompt whatsoever, I love that you said this, by the way, there were no cul-de-sacs of reason.
Yeah, there were no cul-de-sacs of reason. Everything tied in well.
And actually a legitimate inclusion of French.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we cut back to Jules' pad, where Ian and Susan are reunited.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me a little bit like Jules Renaud was a little bit glum to see his... Well, I got her down as another potential baby mama. But because he seems a little bit glum almost when she hugs the massive stud muffin that is Ian.
Why would Jules be upset? He's not into Bob.
No, I know. But in this animated version, it seems like, oh...
Yeah, I'm treating the animated version with the pinch of salt. In terms of what they're putting emphasis on, because I'm sure they don't know.
Yeah, fine. Anyway, so
as
Ian
we
then
discussed,
tells...
the animated version cannot be a frame per frame
No, it can't be.
rendering, because...
How can they have seen it?
Yeah,
if it were available, we would have seen it.
Exactly. Unless it was literally one of the writers of the show, or a stagehand or something, who's drawn this.
No, it's probably based on whatever stills they took.
Yeah, but they did a good job.
Yeah. So then Ian tells Jules all about James Sterling, who from now on I've got down as James Bond, and also tells him about Webster's last words.
Yep.
And so then they decide to sort of split up again, and Jean...
Well, and they discuss plans of how they're going to do everything. Find Sterling, who Jules has never heard of, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Find James Sterling and track down the Doctor.
Yeah, but we now get confirmation that Jules is obviously Jules Renault.
Yeah.
And Jean is to go off and look for the doc, and we're going to hear back from him in 3 days, he says.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we do, actually, but anyway, so he leaves.
But Jules proposes that they use Leon to find James Sterling.
Exactly.
Because Leon is... He actually even says that he may even be James Sterling. He's such this weird, nebulous character. Yeah, which actually was the way I thought it was going to go.
I actually thought
he was going to be James Sterling. Spoiler alert, he isn't.
He is not.
No, very much not.
And the reason they're going to start off with Leon is because he's going to be arriving the following day with a physician for Susan.
Yeah, because they need a physician because she's getting a lot worse.
Yeah.
Which, never actually turns into anything. But eventually we're told the physician won't come as it's too dangerous, and they need to take Susan to the physician, which is where the problems begin, really.
Yeah. And Jules organises a meeting with Leon, but in the meantime, I think there's a cutscene back at the conciergerie where the doc wants to walk past the sleeping jailer, but he's stopped by Lemaitre. Yeah. And that's literally the only thing that we see in that cutscene. The doctor tries to escape, essentially.
Yeah.
And Lemaitre gets him to stay. But yeah, so, Kablamatron cut to the physician's office.
Yeah, he says it's just a feverish chill, which they will cure with some bloodletting with leeches.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Susie is not fond of this idea.
No, not at all.
And he's like, you seem to not have been taking care of yourself very well. Why is that? I'm assuming that this is because she's been hooked up to these Sensorite brainwashing machines quite recently.
And also, as per usual, her hair is all over the place.
Oh my god.
It looks as though she's been dragged backwards through a gut.
Even when a manga character, manga character, she looks like she's been walking backwards through a wind tunnel.
But we've seen her look that way on many an occasion.
Oh, yeah.
It is something the makeup department do to Susan, make her look bedraggled.
And the animators have clearly chosen to emphasize this fact. But the physician, anyway, so he goes...
He seems quite suspicious, though. He does seem suspicious.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, when he leaves, he locks the door. Yeah. They're in there. Susie...
Well, he leaves to say, I need to go get some leeches.
Yeah. Locks the door. They're now locked inside the office. And while they're talking about, this is terrible. I'm assuming, by the way, so what I was going to say, she was working on the whole Sensorite stuff.
Yeah.
In the last episode. Being hooked up, talking to Sensorite people, that must be, the equivalent of maybe a lifetime of mobile phone conversations. She's, her brain is in pretty bad...
At capacity.
Yeah, this is why she's getting these migraines. But they try to get out of the office, realise it's locked up, and then all of a sudden, essentially... The doctor turns up, well, not the doctor, the physician turns up, with a bunch of soldiers.
To be fair, she has also been stuck in an 18th century French jail, which is riddled with disease. It's quite easy to believe that she's not well.
Yeah, why are they not scratching themselves constantly with all the lice?
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. Okay.
It's amazing she didn't get a worse illness, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the authorities turn up with the doctor, and they're captured again.
Yeah, the doctor in this case being the physician.
Yeah, the physician.
To avoid any confusion.
Uh-huh.
And BS on our back in the conciergerie.
Yeah, but they're split up. Susan's taken back to the cells and Barb is taken in for questioning.
Yeah, by whom?
By...
The Doctor.
Yeah.
Which is
turns out to be the Doctor.
Yeah.
It's a lovely moment.
Which is really, really good. And so while they have a chat, Lemaitre looks on and I guess pieces it together, goes oh right, so this is further evidence that the Doctor is not who he says he is, because he's clearly involved with this person who he probably thinks is a spy.
Yeah, the Master's very good at hiding behind doors, which is something he says, that's one of his things he does. He hides behind doors and listens in on conversations.
Oh, yeah. And then, as a finale to this episode, we see Ian going to this cobwebbed meeting with Leon, and it's almost like Deep Throat of X-Files fame. You know Deep Throat?
No.
The guy who constantly smokes cigarettes, lurks in the shadows, you see the ember of the cigarettes, what?
Right, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about from an episode of The Simpsons. The one where Wayland Smithers is a secret informant.
Yes.
He's he's going to Lisa. I can't tell you who it is, but it's MB.
Anyway, it's an ambush. Soldiers arrive all over the place. Yeah. Ian he's now a prisoner.
Yeah, Leon goes, ha-ha! And
Yeah, in your face. You walked straight into my trap.
yeah. We will ask the questions, so end of episode 4.
Why did he turn into a Nazi? Okay, anyway, yeah.
End of episode 4, episode 5,
A
bargain of necessity.
Yes, a bargain of necessity, which is also an animated episode.
Yeah, which is also an animated episode. So, straight back into it. Leon wants information from Ian.
Yeah, and Ian is being
won't give it up.
shackled to Leon's, like, S&M dungeon.
Yeah, but Ian's such a hard man, he's never going to give shit away, is he? I mean, like, surely Leon could tell that just from looking at him, if he's any kind of politician. Like, just take one look into Ian's eyes and just think to yourself, am I going to get information out of this guy? No way.
It's like staring down a bottomless pit that just keeps laughing back at you.
Right.
Give me your worst, you bitch. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we cut back to the conciergerie where Barbie is telling Doc all about Susan's cough and about Jules Renault.
Yeah.
And Lemaitre listens in on this convo, which is of significance because he now actually knows that Jules Renault is part of this. He knows how he can get to him.
Yep. But the doctor, in just a little comment, tells Barbara that she's silly to worry.
Yeah, he
He makes a big point of it. Like, my plans always work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what he said.
Yeah, I wrote that as well. He goes, everything's turned out pretty well. And then he says, and I quote, "You know my plans always work perfectly."
Yeah, which
Really?
at the start of the episode, Barb was just telling us, like just reminding us how badly the Doctor's plans usually work out. He does come up with the goods in the end. Like at the end of every episode, he does come up with a little plan that solves everything.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
always. So he does have some credit.
Yeah.
In his bank account, but he also has quite a lot of crap in there too.
Well, anyway, so Robespierre in the meantime summons Lemaitre, so he can't listen in on the whole conversation with the doc.
Yeah.
So he disappears. And
But no, we cut back to the Doctor. Oh, sorry, is that where you're going?
Yeah. Well, we're still with the Doctor.
The Doctor starts on his little plan.
Yeah. He NLPs the jailer again, and proposes that he essentially proposes that the jailer propose that they let Bob escape.
It was really clever.
It's so clever, and then he even commends him for it. It's like, what a brilliant idea.
Well, it's the oldest trick in the book, isn't it? Like, put a thought into someone else's head, get them to say it, and then there's no suspicion.
Oh, you make it sound so easy.
It's not easy at all. That's what makes the Doctor so amazing.
Cut to Jules' pad, where Jules arrives and, I quote, literally calls out, "Ian, Barbara, and Susan."
All three of you, now. Yeah.
But the place is empty.
Yeah, so he realises what's happened.
Yeah.
In terms of they've been taken off. So cut back to the Master speaking to Ian.
No, Leon speaking to Ian.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, no, Ian is being interrogated by Leon down in the dungeons.
Okay. I think I got the anime characters mixed up.
Oh, okay. Well, he's still in the dungeon being interrogated by Leon and all the soldiers, and he says this lovely little thing where he, like, basically, almost to mock him, tells him the truth. Says, like, well, we flew in here from England in a small box in 1963.
Yeah.
So nice. And then Jules arrives and Charles Bronson's everybody.
But he's got back history of that. Like, we know he's really, really good at Charles Bronson.
He Cabretti's everyone. He Cabretti's Leon like he's a fucking rabid dog.
Yeah,
Which is actually my most literally.
Well, to be fair, Leon has screwed him over royally. Like, he's been working with this guy for quite some time, presumably, and he's just absolutely fucked him.
Yeah.
He is a murderous traitor.
Oh, totally. Which is a little bit of a shame, because up until that point, even though...
Leon just seemed really sexy, and that was all.
Yeah, and even though he has been kind of this nebulous spy character that no one really knows that well, he has been someone of not only, like, well, almost of this hypothetical authority, whom Jules and Jean and all the others probably looked up to in a way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess you could say the Leon character maybe wasn't expanded on as much as it looked like it was going to be.
Yeah,
but I think it works as a plot device. As you're saying, it's like he's an unknown quantity. Yeah, Leon is the unknown quantity. Like, he seems to have quite a lot of power, quite a lot of say and influence. Yeah, but obviously it's because he's a double agent of sorts. Yeah.
So then we cut back to the conciergerie, where the doc shows himself to Susie just to let her know that everything's fine, is interrupted by the jailer, goes back to the jailer, and then basically blames him for having allowed Bob to escape.
Yeah. Well, like, again, he NLPs him, so
totally.
he kind of says,
well, it was your idea, wasn't it?
Well, they both agreed on this plan where they were going to let her escape and then follow her. And the Doctor's basically like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, why did you not follow her, you silly little man?
This is, in my opinion, this is the closest we get to a cul-de-sac of reason, by the way.
Really?
Because he says, well, you couldn't have expected me to follow her looking the way I do, not in these clothes, but here's a solution.
That does make sense.
Yeah, but here's a solution. Let's let Susan escape as well, and I will personally follow her.
Yeah, well, he's not actually going to do that.
But he says that.
Yeah, but he's talking to a simpleton. He is. He's talking to a drunken northern simpleton.
That's very true. The jailer refuses, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he can't let another one go.
Exactly. And Lemaitre, in the meantime, is meeting with Robespierre.
Yeah.
Who tells him that there's this conspiracy against him, basically to depose him. And he orders him to find out with whom this man who is, I guess, the leader of this conspiracy, Monsieur Paul Barras. Or Barras?
Which is like a person in history, right?
I don't know.
I've never studied the French Revolution. I only have a smattering of knowledge.
Yeah, same here.
I recognise that name. I thought that was a person.
Well, I assume so, considering the quite important scene that we're going to get later on.
Oh, yeah, he's an important guy, but I recognise the name as I thought, that is someone, isn't it?
Yeah, well, presumably.
We'll probably get a takedown from somebody on the website. I can't believe you didn't research this.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't. I had a smattering of French Revolution knowledge and I went with it.
So, and he orders him to basically find out with whom this guy, Monsieur Paul Barras, is meeting. The guy who is at the head of this conspiracy, one might assume. And, so that's that. We cut back to Jules' pad. Mm-hmm. Bob arrives and tells them that the doc is essentially fixing everything, like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And she's quite appalled by the death of Leon.
And she makes a very good point, which I hadn't considered at the time. I just thought, Leon, what a bastard. Like, he's a turncoat. And she makes the point, well, he's a great patriot to the people of,
Yeah, but also on a more personal
side.
level, consider that the two of them were visually getting it on.
Yeah.
Quite recently.
Yeah, and he in no way fucked Barb over.
Oh, no.
No.
No, not at all.
So everybody's taken a side. Leon's taken a side. It just turns out he's a clever guy and he's a double agent.
Yeah.
So why is he any worse than anyone else?
Yeah, that's true.
Because as we know from French history, just before the French Revolution, things are really fucking bad. After Robespierre's deposed, things get really quite bad.
Yeah.
So really, Robespierre is the lesser of two evils. The lesser of three evils, in fact. The least of three evils.
The least of three evils.
Yeah.
So then we come back to the conciergerie anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the doc once again is having a chat ski with Susie and tells her to hide in the corner of the cell and just not make a sound. Yeah. And then he goes he calls for the jailer and says that Susie's gone.
Yeah.
And when the jailer tries to, see what's going on, he yet again bludgeons someone. He now bludgeons the jailer and tries to great escape again, just as Lemaitre arrives with a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah, it does not get very far. The plan lasts for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Lemaitre shows the doc his old clothes and ring and goes I know everything.
I can't believe she said the doctor's plans don't always work out. The plan worked for precisely 5 seconds. Got her out of the cell, and then it was just...
At some point, when the doctor's plans finally do work, I would love him to just light up a cigar and go, I love it when a plan comes together. So anyway, the Lemaitre tells him, I know everything, and basically, if you want to see your granddaughter released, you're going to take me to Jules Renault.
Yeah, and he puts it in terms of blackmail.
Yeah.
He wants a powerful friend, the doctor could be a powerful friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But it turns out that's quite an interesting conversation, because he's just saying that for the sake of saying it in case anyone's listening, isn't he?
Yeah, that is true. And he does actually, in this little conversation, almost allude to the fact that he's not on either side. He says he is opposed to anarchy.
Side.
That's what he says. He's opposed to anarchy. And he talks about his ideals. He just wants order. Currently, Paris and France in general is in a state of flux, in a state of chaos, and he just wants order.
But for the crowd, he says that he will guillotine Susan if the doctor doesn't go along with his plans, which makes total sense, because he wants the doctor to just do it, because it's in everyone's best interests.
Actually, we're coming up to another, for me anyway, not a cul-de-sac of reason, but shall we say
I'll hear you
a
out.
matte painting of reason. He says, the episode ends with the doc arriving at Jules' pad with Lemaitre. Yeah. But How the shit did he know where to go? The doc's never been to Jules' pad.
But doesn't the Master know where the pad is? The Master knows where the pad is.
Oh, really? Does he?
I would have thought so.
Oh, maybe he does, because he's
an
like...
information gatherer.
Yeah, and he has actually followed Ian, so he may have seen Ian get bludgeoned by the two...
well, and if you think about
it,
with their combined amount of information, the Doctor has been told that it is Jules who's doing everything for them. The guy knows of Jules.
Yeah.
So, together, they know where he lives, and they probably, have worked it out.
That's very possible.
It's fine for me.
Maybe they take one of those copper engravings of Paris and, turn it into a Venn diagram, and whatever's in the middle, that's okay, X marks the spot, we're going to go there.
But it is a big, enticing end to the episode when, your friend has betrayed us, the Doctor has betrayed us.
Yeah, exactly.
He's actually brought the Master here.
Yeah.
And at this point, as I said before, I was none the wiser. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, right.
I didn't know that the Master was actually going to turn, as he will at the start of episode 6.
Prisoners of the Conciergerie. Wait. Stop the presses. Shouldn't every episode of this story arc be called Prisoners of the Conciergerie?
I guess so. That is basically the plot line. It's the episode arc is called The Reign of Terror. We don't actually see that much reigning of terror. We hear about
that is true.
Quite a bit of guillotining, but actually they're mainly prisoners. As they are most places they go.
Oh, hang on, wait.
90% of the time they are prisoners.
Total tangent. Just an observation that I made going through, Doctor Who episodes on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
We made a mistake in the very, very start of Who Back When.
Really?
The first story arc is not called An Unearthly Child, it's called something like 10,000 BC.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually called something like that. Whereas the first episode, obviously the pilot episode, is An Unearthly Child.
I see. When I bought it on iTunes, £1.79, good value. It said An Unearthly Child, so that's what took me down that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 10,000 BC.
Something along those lines. I think it may have been released in 2 different versions. It doesn't matter. Tangent over. Back to episode 6. So the Doctor now explains to everyone that they kind of made a bargain.
Yeah.
And Lemaitre, this is the big revelation.
Yeah, he says, I've come as a friend, and then reveals, I am James Sterling.
Yeah. I am James Bond, and I organised everything, including Ian's escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he couldn't have done, really. When you think about what happened there, the jailer's got the key in the door.
Yeah, he didn't...
And he's distracted him at the perfect moment to make him leave the thing in the door. How did he know he'd make him leave it in the door? That doesn't...
Yeah, maybe
that doesn't quite add up.
That might be a little bit far-fetched, but I didn't even think so much about the keys in the door as the fact that he just watched him escape and allowed him to do so.
Well, of course he did. He's a friend.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's what he was referring to.
Oh, I see.
As opposed to, I distracted the guards so that you could steal
because
a key.
he actually specifically says, because Ian's a bit suspicious of the whole thing. He's like, yeah, right, you're James Sterling. And then he's like, well, how do you think it came about that you even escaped? Presumably the whole thing. As in, how did you get the key?
Well, he's basically been NLPing the Gowler as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He has. But
Ian now trusts him, I think.
Yeah.
He also tells him about Webster and everything.
He explains himself fully and well.
And Ian tells him about Webster's last words and says, basically he wanted him to be returned to Blighty ASAP.
Yeah.
And
he thought that there'd be more to the message. And there was more to the message.
Yeah, well, the follow-up is James Bond mentions to him that there's a plot to depose Robespierre, and he has been ordered to follow Barras, and Ian recognizes the name Barras. He's like, oh wait, Webster said something about, there was something about a sinking ship, and Barras.
Yeah. And it turns out the sinking ship is actually the name of the inn.
Bingo, yeah. An inn on the Calais Road.
On the Calais Road, lovely. Sounds rather pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh, should we have a meeting with Bonaparte on the Calais Road?
Spoiler alert. So James Bond says that they should organise a little bit of a reception party there. And Doc and James Bond are to remain in Jules' pad, whilst Jules, Ian and Barb are to go to the inn.
Yeah, and Barb, we cut to the bar, and Barb's masquerading as a barwoman.
This is so freaking weird. Barb has somehow faked papers, faked faked a CV, gotten through the interview stages of being employed as a barmaid, and Ian has been employed as the bartender, and there is in fact no one else running this inn but Ian and Bob.
You might have a valid point. What I assumed at the time, actually, although it probably hasn't worked out this way, but the inn was one of those places that was along the route of the anti-revolution people.
I see what you mean.
So they've just gone to the innkeeper or whatever. Yeah, we need these two people in here tonight because, you know, is meeting up with somebody really important who might be the new leader of France.
Fair enough. So when we cut to that...
That might not make logical sense, though.
No. So anyway, when we cut to that, Jules is pretending to be a patron. Ian is drilling a hole in the wall so that he can spy on Barras and when he meets with whomever it is. Yeah. And Bob is going around, like, offering drinks. And then Barras arrives, gets a room, and his friend arrives.
Who, like, this bit was obvious to me. Well, obviously it was because of what happens in history. But yeah, Napoleon arrives. So
Napoleon arrives.
You always knew he would.
Well, I mean...
I think it's meant to be obvious to the viewer, isn't it? That it's going to be...
Well, I don't know.
Because at the start
I
of the
hadn't heard
episode...
of Barras before, but when it's made clear that the next person who arrives is going to be the next leader of France, it's like, oh, well, pretty limited selection of people.
And also, I think it's Robespierre, and no, it's not Robespierre, it's the Master, I think, says in the previous episode, I think you're going to remember this date, so-and-so, 1794. And when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that is the year, isn't it?
Is it? No, isn't that later on? Because, there's a guy. Do you remember that man, Napoleon? He goes, what, the Corsican?
Yeah, no, that is later on.
That is later on.
But earlier, the Master does say something, I think it was either to Ian or the Doctor, but about remember this date. Like, I got a feeling this could be a date for history, so-and-so, 1794.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's meant to lead you down the line of, we are going to see Napoleon.
Okay, alright. Yeah. Nice educational point there as well.
This is a very educational episode. Yeah. Again, I learned a lot.
So then Barras is talking to Napoleon. He tells him basically he wants him to be, well, almost like his puppet, leading the country.
He says he wants him to be one of 3 consuls, but like the head consul.
And the people have an immense admiration for him.
Yeah, because of all his victories in like, Austria. Or whatever.
After the Austrian Wars, people respect him and, whatnot.
Yeah, nice.
And Ian is spying on them through the hole in the wall. And
what occurred to me, though, why didn't Barbara know, as a history teacher...
Oh my god, that's such a good point.
That it was going to be Napoleon.
That is ridiculous. I hadn't even considered. She's a history teacher, for fuck's sake.
Because when Napoleon turned up, she wasn't the one who recognised him. It was Ian.
It was Ian.
Oh my god, that's Napoleon.
Yeah.
But, you'd have thought, knowing the date, knowing the sequence of events, she'd have been like, yeah, Napoleon's going to be around.
You and I are not history teachers, and we know who the next leader of France is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but she's a freaking history teacher.
What the shit? And she actually lectures them earlier in this episode. She lectures Ian when he's saying, Leon had to die. She says, you better check your history books before you start, saying who's in the wrong and who's in the right, Ian. But she wasn't aware that Napoleon was going to take over.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's another weird thing. In terms of historical episodes... Oh, it is, actually. In terms of the historical episodes, since they do have a history teacher in the main cast, every single one of those episodes should almost be led, driven by her knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she should at least... know little tidbits. It's not to say just because she's a history teacher, she shouldn't know everything about history, of course.
No. I don't mean it like
something
that,
like the French Revolution, she should know about the basics at least.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You have, let's say, the Ocean's 11 type films where you always have one guy who knows detonations, one guy who knows electricity or whatever. Here you have one dude who knows science, one dudette who knows history, and one hombre who knows time travel, sort of. And considering that they've got these two academics, the science and the history person, they should be able to contribute,
think this would be her field?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ian can always take over the running of a spaceship if he wants to, because he teaches high school science.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why can't Barbara take over the whole plot device of, leading a Napoleonic story?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Totally true.
Yeah. Gina, it's time for a drink, because I'm going to say, anyway, Lemaitre is
At this point, can I just say,
oh my God,
Gina must be plastered. the amount of times we've said anyway. I think we've reached the anyway limit. I think we're probably like 157 on the anyway count. There was 158. Go on.
So, Lemaitre is flummoxed when he hears that Napoleon is the proposed ruler of France. And this sort of cuts to a little conversation between Bob and the Doc, where she thinks it's almost hilarious that they're trying to change history when they've already realized that it is impossible
they are literally unable to do anything about it.
Yeah, even though they know Robespierre is going to be shortened by about a head, right? They are doing their best to somehow thwart the natural course of time. So then back at Robespierre's pad...
And that actually, they even later say, even if we tried to shoot Napoleon, the bullet would probably rebound off one of his belt buckles or something like that.
Oh, do they say that? I totally missed that. That's awesome.
Like, right at the end. When they're talking about how they are literally unable to change anything. But it does tie in with later Doctors, the high idea of fixed points in time.
Yeah.
And I guess the French Revolution, if anything's going to be a fixed point in time, that's going to be one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So then back at Robespierre's pad, or his office, he's locked himself inside, the soldiers arrive, bound into the room, arrest him, and... I don't remember this from school, but do they shoot him in the mouth?
In the jaw, yeah.
In the jaw.
I don't remember that from school. They just told us he was shot in the jaw.
Yeah, bingo.
And he is holding his jaw.
He's holding his jaw, he's bleeding like hell, he can't speak anymore. Actually, you know what? It does kind of ring a bell in some way.
Well, the reason they shoot him in the jaw, and it does, there is a poetic justice to it, because he's going to them, I'll make you a deal, I'll make you all kings if you let me go.
Yeah, he has been the sort of silver-tongued devil who's been just talking his way.
And do you know what? It is so poetically right. It may be one of those things that's been put into history as, it's not actually true that he was shot in the jaw, but it's somehow poetically right.
It is possible. Who knows?
Whatever.
Neither one of us is a history teacher in 1963, so who knows?
That's right.
So, then back at the jail, oh my god, there are so many cutbacks. So back at the jail, the Doc arrives and speaks to the drunkard of a Gowler and claims that Lemaitre was shot as well. Yeah. And accuses the jailer of having been a collaborator. Because he says, did you not help Lemaitre?
Yeah.
And he's like, but I had no idea. I was just doing my job. It's like, but you know what? That's not much of an excuse.
But as I said to you before we started this episode, at this point there is a great Doctor shitting over his lines moment. When he first starts telling the Gowler about, haven't you heard the nerve? The news? He actually just plainly calls the news the nerve.
Yeah. Do we need a soundbite?
I think we do.
Soundbite.
I see you haven't heard the news yet, my man.
Yeah, so tells the jailer that the master's been shot, and accuses him of being the master's accomplice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sort of total just manipulation, and it almost in a way striking a bargain with him, says, you know what? I can make all of this trouble go away. All you have to do is release Susie.
Yeah, well, because Robespierre's on his way, so anybody who Robespierre imprisoned obviously needs to be released.
Yeah, exactly.
That does kind of make sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. So Susie's released and arrives just as, Robespierre is brought in to the conciergerie, and Susie and Doc just kind of watch as he's being taken to a cell. Mm-hmm. Then, this is very close to the end anyway.
Yeah.
We've now got the main cast more or less assembled. Ian, Bob, and Lemaitre, they see Jules arrive, then the Doc arrives, and Susan's there.
It's all just coming together. All these little narratives we've been seeing, they're all coming together into one place.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Ian's telling Jules that Napoleon will be the next ruler.
What, the Corsican?
Yeah. Yeah, that's when we get that funny little moment.
Yeah, and
he won't believe it.
No, it's really weird because very recently they were all informed of this, were they not? Mm-hmm. Well, no, sorry, Lemaitre was informed of this and he was flummoxed. Sorry, my bad. Now Jules is informed and he is flummoxed. But
I thought the whole point of Napoleon becoming the ruler is that it wasn't that surprising because he was a great military leader.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, those sorts of people do, think of Roman Empire. Those sorts of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's the military leaders who already have a certain level of authority inside.
Yeah, but we have had another discussion in this episode, which is that it's a really bad thing that it's a military leader. Like, Jules is saying he actually prefers Robespierre to the idea of Napoleon.
Exactly.
Because Napoleon's going to be terrorizing.
It's going to be so violent.
Yeah.
But yeah, doesn't matter. We're now done. We're going to cut back to the TARDIS.
Well, and we do get a little segue of Jules saying, funny, I get the impression they don't know where they're heading for.
Yeah, that's true.
Then again, do any of us?
Yeah, very nice.
But
the finale of this episode is unlike any finale we've seen so far. Because they're in the TARDIS, and we have this voiceover of the Doctor, whilst we're looking at, I guess, this zoom-out pan of just stars. And he says something to the effect of, our destiny is in the stars, so let's go and search for it. And then we fade out on these stars. And it's actually really, really nice. It's beautiful. Yeah. But we haven't had that kind of ending before. We've always had an ending that, well, most of the time we've had an ending that is essentially a lead-up to the next story.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just checked, and this is the end of Season 1. There's going to be a break, most likely, until we get to Season 2.
Yeah.
Thus...
Which is why...
Perfect way of ending it. Actually, let's wait until you're done.
Well, no, it's fine. Yeah, that's why we got that lovely little ending that left us on a high.
Yeah, very true.
Reviews.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go first, seeing as apparently I haven't done so in a while.
Yeah. Pretty sure I went the last time.
As anybody will be able to tell if they've listened to this podcast, I absolutely freaking love this story.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they've made it so good is because it is the series finale.
Yeah.
It's brilliantly put together. It's all the little pieces come together in this episode in a way that it sometimes doesn't in Doctor Who.
That's true.
I thought it was edited better than any episode of Doctor Who I've seen so far. In terms of it was quite modern, the way the sequences intertwined with each other. There were a lot of cutbacks and forths, but it worked. It was, it was a really pleasurable watch. There was nothing clunky about it. In terms of, there were a couple of episodes that we did have to watch in anime, but it was so much better in anime than not having the anime, so I'm really thankful to whoever made that. Although I didn't enjoy those two episodes
I'm
quite,
going to say the BBC,
so
by the way.
much.
Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you think it was the BBC?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay. So, while those two episodes weren't quite as enjoyable, it didn't ruin the momentum of the episodes, of the whole story arc for me. So that by the time we got back to episode 6, where we actually did have proper footage, I was really excited. And the whole thing was placed in proper historical context. It all made sense, as we were talking about on the way through there. Like, people's intentions, the little intrigues they do, some of the things they say that seem to not make sense at first, they do eventually make sense later in the episode. And it all ties together in a neat little package. I haven't got very much bad to say about this episode, if I'm perfectly honest. The only one hang-up I do have, which was the same, was it Marco Polo, where we said, well, there's not actually any sci-fi in this for a sci-fi show. It didn't bother me quite so much. I was enjoying the ride so much that it didn't actually bother me. And I'm gonna give this my highest mark so far.
What? Wait, do you like this more than you liked Marinus?
Ah, shit, forgot about those. Okay, so having looked back at my previous scores, the highest mark I've given so far was to the Keys of Marinus. I've got to say, I didn't quite enjoy this as much as Marinus. Marinus sort of blew my mind whole.
Yeah.
This was a great piece of drama.
It really was.
It was a fantastic piece of drama, but it didn't blow my mind whole in the same way as Marinus. So what I'm going to do is give it a mark slightly below that of 4.4. Out of 5. I mean, that is one hell of an episode.
That's very good.
It's one hell of an episode.
Yeah.
And I hope to see on our little graph, which I hope people are monitoring, a sharp incline.
From the Sensorites.
From the centre, it's a lot better than the Sensorites. If you're going to watch one story arc that has animated things in it, this is the one. Which
is the only one so far.
Yeah, this is the only one that's actually been broken up. We lost the whole of Marco Polo, didn't we? But yeah, fantastic. Like, I'm sorry if this is a shorter review than normal, but I really haven't got anything bad to say about this.
That's awesome. Okay. Shall I do mine?
Yeah, come back in.
Okie dokie. So, I need to echo what you said about there not being any sci-fi elements to this. Despite there not being any sci-fi elements, I was enthralled by this story. And I think mainly that's because I'm a huge fan of the whole, like, spy genre of movies. And that was quite prevalent within the story arc.
Yeah.
So, that gives it bonus points. The lack of sci-fi gives it a few minus points, so I'm not giving it as high a mark as I would have if, let's say, the tailor had also had some autons in the back. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think this was very neatly cut together, written, and just very well crafted in general.
Yeah. They could have made Napoleon a Cyberman. That would have been
Actually, if this had been like Matt Smith era Doctor Who, Napoleon would have been a Cyberman.
Or he'd have been head of the Cybermen.
Or he would have been a Dalek puppet.
Oh, no, the Cybermen would have been the puppets of him.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, actually, that's probably going to happen at some point. That's going to happen in Capaldi.
Yeah, well, we'll cut to like 1804, and Napoleon's got his whole army of Cybermen. And he's just rampaging across
Well, dude,
Europe.
the Nazis got Daleks, so why wouldn't Napoleon get...
Cybermen.
Yeah.
why
Anyway, dude, I'm
Sorry,
going to continue with my review.
Yeah, sure.
So, in terms of the animated episodes, before I knew that there were animated episodes, I did see the episode 4 in this arc as still images. And when I did, I was severely disheartened, to be honest. It lost all momentum, and it just didn't work very well at all. So anyway, the animated episodes, they really did it for me, in a way. Like, they didn't so much not alter the pace of this story as add to it. Like, they really made it like, oh shit, it's almost like I'm watching a different story arc and then come back to the regular episode. And I really liked it. I was a big fan of that. I'm very grateful to the BBC or whoever for having made that, because it was very nice. But in general, I love the story. I love the characters. I am happy with it being a historical episode. And I think it is a lovely conclusion to season 1. Yeah. What did you give this?
4.4.
4.4. I'm not going to go quite that high. I'm going to give it a 4.1. And it, as I said, would have probably given it a higher one if there had been some sci-fi element to it. But it is a brilliant episode. So 4.1.
I would disagree with you on the point of the animated bits making it better.
I'm not saying it makes it better, but I'm saying this in contrast to what you said, because you said, the fact that we had 2 animated episodes didn't change the pace.
Yeah.
To me, it did change the pace, but that was mainly because it was in contrast to the still image version I had literally just seen.
But I think the point I was trying to make, there was the juxtaposition of when you finish episode 5, and it's ended in animated version.
Oh, after the animated,
and then when you cut back to actual footage,
and we get a live action reenactment of what we just saw as an animated version.
I'm really excited at that point.
As am I. I loved it.
And for a final episode of the final story arc of Series 1, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm engaged throughout.
Absolutely.
Almost because there are 2 episodes missing. Like, it adds to it in that sense.
Yeah.
But I do feel very sad that those 2 are missing, because this is such a great story arc that it deserves to be complete.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
What fuckwit lost it?
All right, so we have some listener reviews as well. Would you like to read out the first one?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Flappy?
Wow, it's long.
That's what she said.
Always have to go there. So our first review comes from long-time contributor, Gina. How long have we been going now? Like 2 months? No, more, maybe.
More than... What, dude? Apologies again for the slight hiatus of 2 weeks since the last episode. But, no, it's been more than 2 months, dude.
Really? I lose track of time.
Good thing we're doing a time travel show.
Yeah. That's right.
It's not as hot, Neil. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Anyway, Gina says, I thoroughly enjoyed The Reign of Terror. The sets and the costumes were beautiful and detailed, and the story was good for being a historical educational drama. The fact that the supporting cast appeared to be more than 5 people helped to give the story enough scope to fully represent the early days of the French Revolution. I was pleased that the animated reconstruction flowed well and didn't take me out of the story. It felt like a full and complete story to me because it actually had a beginning, middle and end with fully formed characters. Quite right. I actually enjoyed the Doctor in this story being manipulative with people other than Ian and Barbara. The story let the Doctor display his wit and intelligence, even with the Doctor's "haven't you heard the news?"
Gina goes on to say, on the other hand, what was up with Ian slowly adding more clothing as the story went along? First the frilly shirt, then the vest, then the jacket, the hat, and the coat. Nice, I hadn't even picked up on that. Well done. Just saying, she says. I almost feel that the writers have given up trying to further Susan's character arc, so they just give her illnesses or stick her in jail to deal with her uselessness. And her screaming grandfather literally makes my skin crawl. Lastly, I found it interesting that once again Barbara appears to be the intended victim of another rapey guy. You know what?
There were like 2 or 3.
She goes on, you know what? Never mind. I mean, who wouldn't want to hit that? Anyway, I would rate the story 4.1 due to my personal preference of the sci-fi episodes. Thanks, guys, again. Dude, Gina is freaking echoing my brain.
Do you know what?
Nice, Gina. We're on the same page.
I might have mentioned this before, but I read an interview with Carol Ann Ford, the person who's now like 72.
Yeah, who plays Susan.
Played Susan. And she was saying literally that. Like, they were just foisting her off into places. All she would do was scream grandfather and be put into prison, like, taken away from the show. I think it is a shame, because I think there was mileage in her.
Yeah. Mileage in her.
No, I think there was... Okay.
Is this you just fawning out on
Shut
Susan?
up. Don't be so disgusting. No, I think that the character was quite interesting to begin with. We had this unearthly child who was a rocket scientist, didn't really understand, like, the complexities of 60s society, but knew an awful lot about rocket science. We have seen nothing of that.
No, not at all.
She is a useless bystander to everything.
Oh, totally.
She shouldn't be.
No, I agree. I completely agree. It'd be much more interesting if we had, like, a little wunderkind on stage.
I mean, when we embarked on this voyage, I thought that she was going to be that.
As did I.
Just that.
Yeah, it's very possible that was the intention, actually. But
so what
just
was
didn't pan out.
decided? Like, was it just she was bad at acting? Or like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe just poor writing.
Her accent was too strange. I don't know. She does have a strange accent.
She does. I have no idea where she's from.
Well,
anyway.
It sounds to me as though she's Welsh trying to do an English accent. That is what she sounds like. Oh, a grandfather. But I think it's a very good point that Gina's raised there. Like, why is she being pushed out?
Well, considering that they've crafted her to be this incredibly useless character, I'm pleased that she is being pushed out.
Yeah, but it's a shame.
All right. Well, we've got more listener reviews, so we've got to move on.
When she gets left on a planet, like, I'm not going to be that upset. She didn't add that much.
So overall, that's a fantastic review.
Agreed.
Seriously fantastic review, and I am thrilled to see that we were so totally on the same page. People, you need to follow Gina on Twitter. She is at Gina Guerrero 1. Just check my followers or my followings on Twitter and you'll find her.
Okay, great.
The next one comes from John David, JD.
Hi, John.
Hello, John. And he's got a bit of a long one as well. Should we split this up as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, I'm going to start this one off.
I'll go. Yeah.
John writes, Susan, after reading the book on the topic in An Unearthly Child, may be regretting her decision to leave the book on the table as we find out in Remembrance of the Daleks many, many years later, as it may have come in handy in this episode.
It's another Hartnell historical, which up until this point have been the good Marco Polo and the excellent Aztecs, and Ian seems to have borrowed Hartnell's travel agent and gone on holiday for a couple of weeks, as he hardly appears in the first half of this story.
But we get an answer about why the TARDIS is permanently off course, when the Doctor, who is a scientist, manages to translate 12 kilometers into 100 miles, which really manages to explain how the TARDIS never lands where he wants it to.
In our now classic historical trope, the TARDIS team get captured, escape, get captured, escape, and get captured for 6 episodes. But it's without the glamour of the Aztecs, and since Marco Polo is sadly lost to us in visual form, we only have our imaginations to go by. In comparison, Rain is grotty and dirty in comparison. It's a disappointment, not like the Sensorites, which started good and ended apocalyptically bad, but grotty, bland and forgetful. And that's damning when you have the rest of Season 1 such strong opinions one way or the other. You know, like the edge of destruction.
That is very true. He goes on to say, the good, end of episode 1. The Doctor trapped, unconscious in a burning barn in the days before regeneration, and while Ian is the hero of the story, could this be the end? ... The good, Barbara once more steals the show, basically telling Ian that he's wrong and the normal people of the revolution were heroes, and he should shut up and go back in his box. While the show is transitioning to the Doctor being the main character, I'm still in favour of Barbara Who, at this point where Jacqueline Hill goes around saving the universe in a sensible jumper and comfortable shoes. Very nice.
The bad, Susan has no point, and indeed, frankly, is a hindrance to the safe survival of the time travellers during this episode, screaming every 5 minutes and being generally irritating the rest of the time. Bring back An Unearthly Child, Part 1, Susan. Sadly, with only 2 stories of Susan left, it will only get better 5 minutes before she goes.
He gives it a score of 3.0 and adds in brackets, Sadly, it's my least favourite of the historicals so far.
I mean, I actually disagree. I mean, we've heard my review.
I disagree with it being the worst. It's not our least favourite historical so far, but he's made a lot of points that we totally agree with.
Well, and points that we made throughout the episode. I guess it's just a matter of opinion. They didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, sure.
But I can see why they would bother some.
Yeah. And also, gotta add, freaking hilariously written review.
Yeah, there's one wonderful lilt to it. But I thought, as he says in that review, we hated the Edge of Destruction.
Yeah, we did.
And there were things about the Edge of Destruction which I'm sure could have been enjoyed. Maybe we're just in a terrible mood. But I was in a wonderful mood when I was watching The Reign of Terror, and I couldn't get enough of it.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Actually, JD has written a great review of Edge of Discretion as well, which you can read on the website, whobackwhen.com. People, you need to follow John David as well. He is on Twitter as @MariusKane. And speaking of Twitter, we've got another short observation from the Twitter sphere. This comes from @Twister360. That's Twister without the E. And he says, just saw the first part of The Reign of Terror. Love how the Doctor says, you don't say.
As I said when we first read that, my favourite thing the Doctor says is something facetious and then, but I do love the Doctor's little affectations, and you don't say is a wonderful little affectation. It makes everything he says sounds so condescending when he adds something like you don't say or onto the end of it. I think that improves his character. I think
absolutely,
brilliant.
So thank you very much, Twister360. We've got one more. This isn't so much a review of The Reign of Terror, but it is a very interesting observation, and it could be an interesting talking point for this, just in brief. This comes from Davis, who says, first I'd like, actually, let's include that little bit, because he just says how great we are. He goes, first, I'd like to say that I absolutely love your show. You're welcome, Davis. It's been giving me greater appreciation and enjoyment of the classic Doctor Who stories. Glad we can help.
I'm very pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't have a review, but more of an interesting observation. The Doc and crew have the problem of not having access to the TARDIS in every episode so far. They've either been kidnapped, the TARDIS has been broken in some way, or they just can't get to where the TARDIS is.
This is a fantastically good point.
It is a very good point.
It is a very good point.
The TARDIS is it's kind of being kept out of the story because, there's so much potential in
Yeah, it's the entrance and exit of every story arc, but in between there's no actual use of the TARDIS, which is something that I think we see quite a lot of nowadays. Nowadays, the TARDIS plays a much bigger part.
Yeah.
Like, you can, mid-episode jump...
The TARDIS is a person.
Is a person, yeah, sure, but it's actually a character that appears within the episode itself. So they can go somewhere, and if it doesn't work out, they can jump in the TARDIS and go somewhere else.
We have seen the TARDIS have a mind of its own.
That is true.
The Edge of Destruction, the TARDIS does seem to have some sort of sentience.
Yeah.
But it's kind of been washed out of all the stories. It's absolutely true. And
yeah, but I wonder if this is
they never intended the TARDIS.
Yeah, but I wonder if the TARDIS is almost introduced as some sort of MacGuffin, where it's basically the lead up to the end of every story arc is just we need to get to the TARDIS. Like, that's almost the driving plot point.
Yeah.
That's a very good observation, Dave.
Well, because I suppose with the TARDIS, they've got no reason not to just run out of places. The difference between, old Doctor Who and new Doctor Who, in new Doctor Who, they're often going somewhere to help someone or to fix something. Whereas this troupe never do that. They're literally only, and the Doctor in particular, is only about self-preservation.
Yeah.
So if he could get into his TARDIS, why the hell wouldn't he just fuck off?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
I think, actually, Reign of Terror is the furthest we've gotten away from this trope of let's just find our way back to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Because it's almost as though, had they not been captured, they probably would have spent some time just investigating and having a look around.
Yeah, because the Doctor just loves the French Revolution so
exactly.
much.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for writing.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that might conclude episode 008 of Who Back When. Thank you so much for listening.
We all had.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to be back in the next episode of Who Back When, where we're going to be reviewing Planet of Giants.
Wow. Sounds intriguing.
Absolutely. So send in your mini reviews and leave a comment on Facebook and whatnot. Speaking of Facebook, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/whobackwhen. Check out whobackwhen.com, subscribe and rate and whatever on iTunes.
You should not be allowed on the airwaves.
Why?
Like, what is this? Some sort of sleazy 80s radio show?
At least they're not like
Facebook people.
Bing, ow! At least there are no sound effects.
Back when? Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter. I am @Punkin. You don't really use Twitter, but you do read your comments.
Mentioned, I do read them, so I love to receive
and
comments.
You are?
I am at One Too Many Mornings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Catch you in the next episode.
Catch you on the flippity flop.
You do realise that I am actually... a little part of me dies inside every time that you just plagiarise. And God...
Why do you think I do it?
Shamalama ding dong, people. Thank you so much for listening. Catch you in the next one. Rock on!
Back when?